Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tastemakers podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about everything going on in the world of TV and film. What's new, what's good, what's bad, and is there any kind of news? And sometimes we know things before they air, which is one of the times that is happening right now. But I'll get more into that later. First, I must introduce my co-host, Grace Leeder. How you doing, Grace?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. Good week of TV. I think there's a lot of really good TV on right now. So, yeah, excited to chat through it with you, Taran.
Yes, this continues to be some great stuff going on. Some headlines today. We have some renewals, some continuations, some cancellations, some updates on all those. We want to talk about some Poker Face, which started last week. Maybe briefly touch on The Devil's Plan, which is not scripted but is very good. Definitely want to talk about The Rehearsal and what Nathan Fielder's been up to. I got to talk about Andor and its latest batch of episodes that were just incredible. And then main thing I would love to talk about is Murderbot, which is coming this week. I have watched most of the season, so I want to get into those thoughts. And then we'll talk about some of the other things on the way upcoming this week. That's what's on the docket, Grace.
Son, it's good. Good docket. I think. Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good docket. All right. Well, let's just start with Murderbot. I think
Sure.
because we've talked a little bit about Murderbot already, but it is a new sci-fi show coming on Apple TV. It's based on a series of books that started with a series of novellas. And I read them. I read most of them, at least. I actually stopped around the time they transitioned into novels, but I really enjoyed them. It's basically follows the story of a robot that calls themselves Murderbot, who has hacked their governor system, and so is no longer required to follow its directives, but can't really let anybody know that because then they just kill him. So it's a very here's the thing, it's a comedy. This show, and the books are also pretty comedic, but it also has moments of intense violence. So as I said, I've watched most of this. The episodes are like 20 to 30 minutes each. They're very short. It's a 10 episode season. It is probably like the vibe might seem off to you at first because of how sort of goofy and silly it is, while still tackling some bigger things, like the violence and all of that. I thought it was great. I've really enjoyed it. I was a little unsure at first, but like it has been such a great go-to show to just be able to put on for 20 to 30 minutes and just like it's a consistent, enjoyable ride. So I'm very excited to see what people think of Murderbot, which will start dropping this week.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I will be able to watch it the full thing, and I yeah, just feel like the tone is something I'm looking for. The fact that it is like, I know this sounds so silly, but 20 to 30-minute episodes, it's like it makes me so excited when I see something like that. I mean, if you I'm wondering about it's so funny the like the the writers behind the show are the Whites brothers, who did like American Pie, but also like I think Chris White's co-wrote Rogue One. It's like I don't know. Ants
A
is
lot of
another one of.
people co-wrote Rogue One.
That's true, but it's just yeah, it's very
The
funny.
American Pie origin, there's a that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I mean, I feel like that's like a little bit of the tone of it. Also, Paul Weitz is known for Mozart in the Jungle, which was sort of an acclaimed Amazon Prime
Mhm.
show a number of years ago. So yeah, it has some I love Skarsgård too. I love basically all the Skarsgårds, but I especially like Alexander Skarsgård. I feel like he like slowly revealed himself as like as one of the funniest parts of the last few seasons of Succession. So yeah, I'm excited for Murderbot and excited to hear that you like it. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm curious to know what other people think. From what I've seen so far, a lot of the other early reviewers are on the same page as me, at least in terms of it just being kind of a fun romp. There's a lot of heavy internal monologue going on, which is very true to the books. And they've made it work, I think.
Right.
In fact, I think they've made it work very well. Is it going to be the next Last of Us or anything? Certainly not. It's not that show, but I do think that that a lot of people might just really enjoy the ride. All right, that's Murderbot. I want to talk about a couple other shows that have some announcements. Foundation is going to be airing its third season. This is another Apple show, another Apple sci-fi show. Different vibe than Murderbot, bit more serious. Foundation has an interesting history as a show. It's adapting a series of books that is very foundational to the sci-fi genre, and probably one of the least adaptable source materials of all time.
Yeah.
Given how it's structured. They made an attempt in season 1 that some people found to be a mixed bag, with actually the original stuff being some of the best and the adapted stuff being some of the worst. I think they stepped up their game in season 2. I think that they were sort of firing on more cylinders, maybe not all of them yet, but I'm excited to see where season 3 goes. It will start July 11th, I think is the date that we got, or maybe the 14th, as I'm seeing right now. Maybe I accidentally wrote the wrong one, but basically let's say
July 11th. July 11th.
Maybe this was season 1, originally premiered in July 14th or something. Anyway, July, which is not too far away, so I'm excited.
Am I frozen? Sorry. No, I think I'm okay. Foundation. I agree. I liked season 1 more than I think most people did. I do feel like it gets quite good at the end of season 1, and I think season 2 is quite excellent. Yeah, it was sort of notoriously sort of like this and Dune were sort of the things that like people thought could never be adapted. They did make that the David Lynch version of Dune, which they tried. Then it took Denis Villeneuve to really get it like launched. But Foundation is similar. I feel like it's like soup. I think I've read the first 3 Foundation books and like really enjoyed them, and I think that they've done a really good job of adapting them. Like, and I think honestly one of the best things the show has done is I think that's a total invention, not in the books, which was basically because the book spans like at times like hundreds and thousands of years. They needed a way to like keep people on, and so there's this like cloning mechanism that they use specifically with Lee Pace's character to make sure you can basically always have Lee Pace on the show. It's fun, it's good. I mean I struggle with this all the time where I say the joke is Taran, where it's like, you've had this where someone's like, hey, you got to check out the show, it's really good. It just takes like 2 seasons to get going, and you're like, that's like 8 hours of my life more, but I do think that like the back half of and actually here's my take. There's always interesting stuff happening in Foundation, even in season 1. It's just that some stories are far more interesting than others. By the time you get to the end of season 1, you kind of start to see how they like intertwine and how they're related in a way that I think is very interesting and good. And I think season 2 is actually quite good. So I encourage people to watch Foundation, but it is heavy sci-fi. So
yeah. I think we're just going to continue to. It's all Apple all day right now. But the studio just got renewed for season 2.
It did.
So
Yeah.
that is good news for the studio, which is interesting because like I watched that first episode and I really did not expect it to be the kind of show it is ultimately, where it is much more of like a situational comedy than a drama comedy, which I thought it might be given the structure of the first episode. But what that also means is that there's definitely plenty of space for it to just continue to pump out funny little episodes here and there. The other side of that is that it has been a bit more hit or miss for me throughout its first season so far, but honestly, most of them have been hits. So I'm pretty excited for a season 2.
Yeah, this it kind of reminds me in a way of like a Curb Your Enthusiasm, where
Yeah.
it's kind of like, this is the like actually kind of small thing, but in this workplace it's a ginormous thing. So 2 episodes ago is they're trying to cast the Kool-Aid movie that they've got off that they're going to be launching, and they're worried about the makeup of the diversity of the movie. And if you have an all black cast, is it now a black movie? If you have like the black voices just being the voiceover people, is that offensive? Like, I just thought it was like very clever in the way that like this kind of stuff is like feels like you're walking on eggshells all the time to like talk about or figure out. Latest episode be and that I thought was interesting in that, like, for as much as the show is like every episode can kind of stand alone, like this, you didn't need to watch episode 1 to like now be in this world where they're casting the Kool-Aid movie. But obviously in episode 1, they are trying to like he's trying to make a prestige Kool-Aid movie. So there is like some of this like connective tissue that you can see that I think is like the perfect amount. This is not like,
Mhm.
I wasn't really paying attention, I missed something and I'm totally lost now. You're never going to feel like that, but there's enough like connective tissue, I think, to make us like invested in these characters. I'm really enjoying it. I would agree that some episodes are stronger than the other, but I think baseline, this is a pretty solid show each week. I'm pretty excited to check it out when it drops on Apple.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's almost like Entourage mixed with Curb.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But then I realized it's probably more Curb mixed with Curb. It's not a lot of Entourage. It's mostly just like the filmmaking and cameo aspect of Entourage with like the characters that are questionably likable. But that also, like, a lot of that also exists in Curb. It's just that Curb deals with more domestic stuff often and less with filmmaking stuff, whereas
Yeah.
Studio more explicitly deals with filmmaking stuff. But definitely the Curb DNA is really there. I think that's a
Yeah.
great comparison.
Yeah.
One more announcement. You'd never have guessed it, but man, Suits LA has been canceled. It will not continue past one season.
What a surprise. Oh man. I didn't
Oof.
watch a single episode of this.
I watched a single episode and it was an episode too much.
Yeah, I figured, I was like, I think I'm okay. I think I'm all right. I think Rob and Chappelle got it. They got it on lock. But yeah. I mean, they tried to revive. It's Suits is such a weird thing to have sort of like blown up because it blew up after it was, there always was a
Mhm.
little bit of like, oh, you got to watch Suits, especially like for me here in Canada. It's filmed in Toronto, so it always had this like fake we're the best fake New York out there, Toronto. But yeah, I don't know why they just didn't like reboot. I mean, I didn't finish Suits, I think, so I don't really know if you could have. And I guess like part of it is like one of them is literally in I guess she's not in the royal family. I don't know. So
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of got bad by the end anyway. So
figured.
I don't even know if a reboot would have, in that way, would have worked. But who knows, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting in that it was an attempt at capitalizing on one of these resurgencies, one of these like Netflix inspired booms, and it was not 5 booms.
No.
It was no booms.
No booms.
Um,
Can I give you there's a sneak peek of a show that just The Paper, I believe, is what the name of this Office reboot. Speaking of reboots, I believe it's
yeah, I don't
called.
think we have a good listing for that on IMDb,
But first
um,
look shows Domhnall Gleeson standing on the office desk at the new show, The Paper. Here's the thing. I have been going back here. I have a dilemma for you, Taran. I actually need the listeners' help. I have been doing a thing, and I know this is bad sleep hygiene, but I basically needed a sitcom to put on every night and needed to be something I'd seen before
mhm,
to fall asleep. And I fall asleep very quickly. And so I basically get through about 1/3 of an Office episode every night. And then
mhm.
Netflix plays like 4 more episodes for me. So over the span of like 2 weeks, I'm like already at like season 5 of The Office, but I've basically watched 1/3 of every 5th episode.
Well, so you'll
And
eventually be able to go back through and then
see,
watch the second third of each episode.
is that the move? I feel like
You
I'm
just
kind of
stagger the start time.
yeah, I feel like I'm kind of watching as if it's like in syndication, you know? It's like, oh, it's like I'm on this
Mm.
episode now. And it's like, it's just like things are like kind of different, but not wholly different from the last time I saw them. And yeah, I'm really debating. I guess I'm not like, technically rewatching it. It's just the thing I put on to fall asleep to. And literally, I've never made it through one full episode. So yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
on one hand, it speaks highly of the show, and on the other hand, it speaks not highly of the show.
it speaks to how quickly I'm able to fall asleep, Taran. I have no problem falling asleep, but I do have to put on something. But yeah, this is run by Greg Daniels is back for this. Looks like Oscar Nunez is in this show, I think, who played Oscar in the first series. So yeah, the paper.
I feel like I guess the question is, is it Suits LA, or is it, I don't know, I guess what's a good example of a show like this trying to do a resurgence?
I
Is it The Pit? Right? Is it Suits LA or is it The Pit?
That's a good comparison. I love The Office so much, and even I know like it kind of like falls off a little bit when Michael Scott leaves, and so I do feel like, but yeah, I love it. I'm definitely going to be like right there with the paper when it comes back. I feel like they should have probably had something that's not paper. That's my first. That's my first complaint. But
Well, they needed some kind of connective tissue, right?
I
If they're
know,
not
I
going
know.
to
I
have
guess
most of the
it's true.
characters.
This it's true, but yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the new shows that aired, unless there's any more news, Grace.
No, I don't think I have very much news, if any at all. Oh, well, there is. We were talking about new shit. No, it's not really news. We'll talk about it when we talk about the episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, biggest new show I think of the week, Poker Face is back. And I think they dropped 3 episodes?
Yeah, this is so. I think this is like really interesting, and I guess technically, I feel like Poker Face isn't a show that you go expecting like, what's the big story? So, the show is known for being Columbo style murder of the week. You see, I think the phrase that I found online is it's not a who done it, it's a how did they type of show where you know who did the murder, but you kind of like work backwards with Charlie to figure out how she figures out how to solve the murder.
Yeah, you're
Um,
kind of like trying to figure out how she is going to figure it out.
yes, that's right. So it's not a who done it. It's not a how did they. I wrote this in my article. I'm writing about Poker Face on Pop Heist every week. But they do this interesting thing where every episode is an anthology. She's in a different spot. At the end of season 1, she's on the run. By the end of season 3, she's like they kind of wrap up the like overarching seemingly we don't know yet for sure, which I thought was like really interesting to do that at the end of the 3rd episode of a presumably 10 episode season. I'll say, Jaron, you watched Murderbot ahead. I've watched a bunch of Poker Face already, and I just really love this show. I just think this show is tremendous. I think it knows exactly what it wants to be. It's so zany and like quick, and the way that they bring in these guest stars, like episode 3 has John Mulaney and Richard Kind. Episode 2 has Giancarlo Esposito and Katie Holmes. Who's up? Cynthia Erivo is playing like a set of twins in the first episode, more than twins. It's just, I think, like really fun. It's a really easy watch. I would say like my one complaint is probably the episodes are like a bit too like episode 1 is like 55 minutes, and like I think
They
especially
are
for
a little
releasing,
long sometimes.
if you are releasing 3 in a week, I feel like you could be a little bit shorter. On the other hand, like sometimes I'll look at it and be like, oh, I can't believe we're like 3/4 of the way through this episode. Like I feel like it does move along pretty quickly. So I don't know. I like Poker Face a ton. I'm very happy for it to be back on my TV.
Yes. A How Catchem.
A How Ketchum, that's it. Not an Ash Ketchum, a How Ketchum.
I mean, obviously Natasha Lyonne is just tremendous. Just electric on the screen.
Yeah.
So just giving her a chance to be Columbo is great. And I agree. I think that dropping 3 at a time for me is too much. This is the perfect show to be once a week for me. Like just every week on a day, be like, oh, it's Poker Face Day. Great. I'm gonna watch an hour of, because listen, Columbo also very long. very long episodes of
I
Columbo.
went to go look. I was like, I'm going to watch an episode of Columbo, and they were like an hour and 50 minutes. They're movies.
Is a movie. Every
I didn't
episode is
real
a movie.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know Columbo that well.
But it works when it's like once a week. Because you really, I don't think you can watch more than one episode at a time of this show. It's too similar, and it's too long and too similar to itself.
I don't think I get the like. I get why they're doing it. I just don't know that actually, which is that like the like the premiere week drop of like here's 3 episodes. I don't know that I don't
I
get
think
it.
that
There must
works.
be data for it to. It must be like you'll watch so
Yeah.
much of it now. You'll be invested. Now you feel like you've watched 3 out of 10, so you'll watch every other episode. But I don't know.
I think it works in like, especially like the first season of a new narrative show, like serial, you know, where it's like, let's kick off the first arc, the first few episodes to get you invested. Like when the Wheel of Time drops 3 episodes at first, that makes sense to me because, you know, there's a lot to get through in those first 3 episodes. Or if you just had one episode, you really have to have that hook in the first episode. It gives you a little more space, more breathing room, but I doubt it's a creative decision. And I agree. It's probably just algorithm based.
Do you think? Do you think that they want people? Maybe they don't care. They just want you to eventually watch it. But they dropped 3 episodes. Do you think they're like people are gonna? Because I heard this about Andor. People were like pretty annoyed that they couldn't watch all of Andor like on the Tuesday night it drops, and they have to watch more. I feel like they probably don't care if you're like we watched one on Thursday and then we waited for the weekend, then we watched the other 2. You know, like I don't know. I feel like we're unique that we're gonna watch stuff like we watch a lot, and so we just watch it. But I feel like most people don't. I feel like people are are stressing themselves out. Like if I don't watch all 3 episodes tonight, my life is like it's
Well,
okay.
you then you have to worry about getting spoiled. You have
I
to worry
know.
about like not being able to participate in the conversations around the water cooler, you know, like for as much as those still happen these days. So like, you know, I get it. Like you know, it can be, especially a show like Andor where it's like everyone, you know, everyone's going to be talking about it despite its, you know, seemingly smaller viewership. So you know, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Poker Face, great season 2 so far. From my perspective, I'm enjoying it. But I'm gonna watch it week to week. That's what I'm gonna do.
It's great. It's great. Love it.
We mentioned The Devil's Plan. This is the South Korean game show, season 2 of it. Oh man, it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. It's really
I'm
good.
also annoyed that they dropped 3 episodes. Sorry, 4 episodes. It's too many episodes for me at a time. The Devil's Plan I got to take in smaller doses.
I know. I was watching 2 and then I put on 3 and I was like, it was not even like 10 o'clock yet. And I was like falling asleep and I was like, it's just, I have to be concentrating the whole time. And then you do that thing where you're like, oh, just check a tweet. And you're like, oh, I forgot it's a subtitle.
Exactly. Like
I forgot I have to rewind.
It's a show. If you do not know Korean, that you are watching likely with subtitles, which means that you have to pay close attention to begin with. On top of that, it's a show that requires a lot of attention to follow properly because there are very complicated games, and so it is a very rewarding but very taxing show mentally, I think, to watch. The episodes can be like the first episode's like an hour 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's dropping 4 of them at a time. It's like,
so,
what are you doing?
So let me tell you something. This is, you know, like we're on RHAP. I think Devil's Plan is covered in some form on RHAP. I feel bad that I can't immediately shout it out. I think it was covered in season 1. All that to say, this show, it's not just like it's great if you're an RHAP person and you like games, you like strategy, like this is the Genius, you know, same people who made the Genius coming here, you know, doing the Devil's Plan. It is,
let me tell you, going from the Genius UK to the Devil's Plan was like night and day.
Yeah. So I don't need to tell you like the game mechanics, why like I think like you've heard of it and you like it or you haven't, and you'll check it out. From a television standpoint, this is just an excellently made television show because like it is, one, like in a language I don't speak and I'm following the subtitles, and 2, they are like complicated games. These are games designed to have so much moving on that somebody can play the game in a way that nobody else is thinking that person's playing the game in order to like maximize what's happening. And there are games designed to like just so distrust, and you have to trust people, but maybe that person has a reason not to, and to share things. And there's a couple of moments in even in the first episodes where like there's things within the house. Basically, it feels so escape room coded of like things are happening, but it's just an excellently designed television from like the sound cues and the music, and they cast extremely well. Like I'm immediately compelled by almost everybody on the show and why they're there. I just really enjoyed this as like a well-made television show.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I've tried to make videos for this one in the same way that I made videos for the Genius UK, but it is much trickier to show content from a Netflix show on YouTube than it was to show content from an ITV show. So I'm going to continue to work on that if you want my live reactions to watching episode 1 of The Devil's Plan.
Didn't the Genius UK, it got like bumped off? It got bumped off its night of the week, didn't it?
It was originally airing 2 nights in a row.
Yeah,
and
just
is
one.
now just once a week.
Yeah, bad sign for that. Just in case people are wondering. Yeah.
All right, there's a couple of shows I want to catch up on. The first is The Rehearsal, which has been phenomenal.
This is the most interesting television show on TV. It's no surprise. I mean, the Rehearsal season 1 was so interesting. The Curse was so interesting. This is the best, Taran.
Yeah, I mean, of everything we've talked about so far, I mean, Devil's Plan is fantastic as well. I'm not gonna denigrate that, but The Rehearsal is, and especially you watch the first season, knowing that it was hindered by COVID, I think helps put it into context. But like the first season was good. It was interesting. It was funny. It was thought provoking. This second season is incredible, and it's incredible in a way similar to The Devil's Plan, where it's like it's just really well made and put together, on top of being hilarious and cringeworthy and all of the things that The Rehearsal is. It's like the episode 3 was just I don't even know how to describe it. It was ridiculous, but also extremely compelling and like epic, and almost moving, and so interesting. Episode 4, the most recent one that aired last night, was it just I don't know how I just watched what I did, but I did watch it, and it was compelling and terrible at the same time, on many different levels. And it's like, but it's the overarching narrative that is keeping all of it together, all of these disparate things, these elements, that really just makes the entire thing feel cohesive and rise it above the level of something like Nathan For You. That like these things are all connected and part of a larger story that's being told, which is just so well put together, so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder. I know, like, the idea with season 1 is that he was doing, like, if you look at episode 1 and then episode 2, he focuses in on the like parenting thing, which then seems like because of COVID restrictions, he kind of got like locked into that. I think the thing that he might have like learned is that like how can you wrap rather than episode 1 being this like outlier from season 1, like how do you make basically all these different things you want to do tie into something that's the same. So like, yeah, episode 3 is this like wild journey about Sully, the pilot, and this like one of the weirdest episodes of television I've ever watched. It was so compelling. And episode 3 is about pilots and relationships and the things he's doing. And we get the scene finally that like the trailer had dropped, the teaser trailer that was like I think just like 20 seconds is the only thing we saw, was like a series of different couples in rooms, and we get to see what that actually is. And just the way he is both commenting on society and also wasting HBO's money is just what he's hilarious. The combos, he has a conversation with a woman this episode who was admits to at one point being sexually attracted to Albert Einstein, and the way that I love it. This is my favorite Nathan Fielder thing, where you can tell he knows he's found gold and he is
Mm-hmm.
prodding just enough to get more, but
Mm-hmm.
he almost can't help himself but react with like surprise, where he's like, "You really had this thought about Albert Einstein?" And like they give him more, like he just like lets them fill the space. It's so funny. It's so good. I saw a TikTok, I think last week. It's the folks who do the Nathan For Us podcast, where they were like, my neighbor or my coworkers don't realize that the reason I'm so tired at work today is because I had to podcast about what he saw Sully do in the episode with the giant woman. And she's like, I had to talk about that for 2 hours, And I agree. I can't stop thinking about the show. I think he's a genius. I don't know whether they should make the show. There was a story that came out today where one of the singers who's on a fake singing show as part of the show, thought that the singing show was real and that she had a chance, and she spent a lot of money to travel from New York to LA, and only to find out that he basically did this as a kind of a small bit within the larger thing of his show. And it's like, yeah, maybe that is unethical that he did that. I don't know. It probably is, but it's the most interesting television I'm watching.
It's great. I can't imagine it's for everyone, but I can't recommend it more.
Yeah.
Um, I also want to talk about Andor. Um, drops its third batch of 4 in its final season, season 2. Um, we watched this a little while ago now. That we've already dropped our podcast about it. So if you want detailed thoughts, you can listen to our recap for the third batch of Andor episodes. But titled, this was one of my titles, by the way. Andor makes a case for best show of the year, because I think it has, and this is in a week where I'm watching one of my favorite shows from a couple of years ago, The Devil's Plan. One of my favorite shows from a couple of years ago, The Last of Us. A new contender for favorite show, The Rehearsal. And Andor drops a batch of 3 episodes that I will remember forever. I mean, so well crafted and well made, so timely in sort of like what they depict and the way that they depict them. I think there's something very interesting about how Tony Gilroy talks about Andor, where there are some very clear allusions to things happening in current society, in the world right now. And basically,
Name
I
one
think
thing, Taran. Name one.
something about truth.
Mm.
But he does this thing that I think is interesting, where he will often say, um, I'm not writing about a specific thing. I'm writing about these things in general. And the fact that, or even specifically, like there are some specific things he's writing about from the past, of like, inspired by like certain Nazi meetings was part of the first batch of episodes. And so what he's saying is like, if this is resonating with a current thing, that's just because these things keep happening.
Yeah.
I'm honestly back and forth about like, is that a cop out? Or because it's also like true and meaningful, but also just so interesting in the way that it's approached. And but the thing is, it just works. It just works really well. I think episode 8 is another contender for my favorite of the year, let alone my favorite in years. But it's not even necessarily everyone's favorite episode of the batch, because there's so much to dig into in this batch of episodes. This is a tough one because it's not like I can say, yeah, just check out Andor. It's easy because it's what, like 15, this is like 24 episodes total, something like that. It's a lot of episodes with a lot of context built in. It's a prequel series to a movie, which was a prequel to the original trilogy. And while you don't need to have all of that context, it can be a tough show to dig into regardless. And so not having it will only make it more difficult. But man, if you have the time and the investment to give, this show will reward you so deeply. It is so good.
It is so good. I mean, the joke is kind of like it's Star Wars without the lightsabers, and like that's true. It is still very science fictiony. Like, sometimes they're in spaceships, or they're shooting blasters instead of guns, but it just is extremely resonant. And yeah, to your point, like there's been many things over the years that have been, like, this story resonates. So yeah, it is just extremely good. It's extremely well acted. It's thematically it's incredible. It looks great. I think it is still the most expensive. It is the most expensive Star Wars show I think ever made. Yeah, it's well worth people's time. So you haven't checked it out. My hot take, I think that I don't think is in line with what everybody thinks, but I think these last batch were the best batch of Andor, which I think had the best season of a television show when it came out that year. So it's really good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to catch up on that you watched this week?
I don't think so. Let me just quickly. Yeah, I think that's about everything I was watching this last week.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what's coming up then. Obviously, I just want to mention it again. Murderbot dropping this week. Very excited to see what people think of that one. But speaking of robots, Love, Death, and Robots is going to be dropping its 4th season, I believe. This is the show that is basically a bit of an anthology. Every episode is made by different people, different animation styles, teams, writers, so on and so forth. Just a series of short stories. Many of them, or at least some of them, are adaptations of actual already written short stories. Some of them are completely original. My experience with this show is that it tends to be pretty hit or miss. That some of them will be amazing, some of them will be fine, but the animation throughout will always be incredibly phenomenal. So, there's tons of these to get into if you haven't watched it yet, but it's a pretty good time.
I've heard good things. I've never seen it, but I've heard good things.
Yeah. Another show coming called Duster. This is created by J.J. Abrams, and Latoya Morgan is credited as the co-creator here. She has, this is her first show running credit, but you might know her work from Turn. She wrote on Shameless, The Walking Dead, Into the Badlands. So some great writing credits there for her. And J.J. Abrams, I can't remember. I don't know what his last TV show was that he was credited as a like an executive producer, creator on. But he's kind of returning to Josh Holloway, it seems, as he is going to be part of the show. The premise of the show is that it's a oh wow, this is not the same premise that I read. It's way more vague. This says set in the 1970s Southwest, the life of a gutsy getaway driver for a growing crime syndicate grows from awful to wildly, stupidly, dangerously awful. Let me see if I can find the other summary I found of the show. Have you seen much about Duster?
No, I feel like the thing is I've heard, I feel like this is like people have been excited about this, but that's kind of like probably my circle of like a lot of people who like Lost. I do feel like Josh Holloway is somebody who, like, it always seemed like he could have been a big star. And I feel like, there's this thing that happens a lot to television stars where you end up like kind of stuck being known for like the thing you did. And I feel like that's kind of the case with Lost and Josh Holloway. But I've heard good things about him in this show. I think like the premise is kind of fun, so I'm excited for this. And
This
it's
is Max, by the way.
yeah, it's Max rather than HBO. So yeah,
Mhm. So
I'm
this is
excited.
the premise. Just I think a probably very important piece of the premise left out of the IMDb summary, which is in 1972, the first black female FBI agent heads to the Southwest and recruits a gutsy getaway driver in a bold attempt to take down a crime syndicate.
Right.
So that I imagine is an important piece of that premise. But I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this one goes. I feel like it could be a disaster, or it could be like really good.
I think
And I don't know.
early reviews are good. I think early reviews are positive on it.
Well, there you go.
Very few coming out, but that's the general consensus. So yeah.
Okay, well, there's a bunch of actually like I think a bunch of British shows coming out, and I couldn't really give you a lot of insight into which one might be good, but there's a few like Code of Silence, and these might all not all be British, but Code of Silence, The Bombing of Pan Am, The Game, amongst others that are coming. Basically, as per usual, if any of them pop off in the vein of, say, like an adolescence or something along those lines, I'll be sure to we'll be sure to wrap back around on it. But in the meantime, like I said, I don't think there's a ton of insight here unless you have some
Not in that regard. Final Destination has its new
movies. Yes.
movie coming out this week. So that seems to be the biggest wide release that's
Hmm.
coming. There's a couple of other smaller movies. Hurry Up Tomorrow is this Barry Keoghan, Jen Ortega movie, but I feel like Final Destination Bloodline seems to be the big. Oh, Hurry Up
Yes.
Tomorrow is the Weekend movie. I
Yes.
forgot.
The Weekend. Jenna Ortega also in this.
Yeah. I like
Here's the
Barry
thing.
Keoghan. I like it. I like Riley Keough. Jen
The
Ortega.
issue is like the last thing that the Weekend did
I know.
was
I
The
know.
Idol, which was such a disaster. That
Yeah.
this is probably make or break for him in terms of
Yeah, acting.
reputation in the acting
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, fun. There's a bunch of movies hitting streaming this week that I think are like all like pretty good. And I don't mean like they're new movies, but they're movies that are coming out. Let me see if I had this before. Hard Truths is coming to Paramount Plus. This is a lot of people thought that gosh, what is the name of the main character in this movie? A lot of people thought Maria Jean Baptiste should have been nominated for an Oscar for this movie. It's really good. Novocaine is hitting theaters or stream next week on Paramount Plus as well. Novocaine's quite fun action movie, and The Wedding Banquet is hitting, I think, VOD next week. So, yeah, or this week. All mixed up on my times, but yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's mostly it then for the Tastemakers this week.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
I'm excited to see how Duster goes. I'm excited to again see what the response is for Murderbot. And Love, Death, and Robots is one of those shows that like I kind of just have in reserve. If I feel like it.
Yeah,
And
I think for me right now, it feels like there's like a bunch of just solid shows that are like airing. I'm still watching Your Friends and Neighbors. I quite like it. So I just feel like there's like a bunch of just like solid shows out right now. The Last of Us is still chumming along. It's really good. So yeah.
I mean, there have been more great shows this year than I think there have been in the last like 5 years. I don't know. Maybe that's reaching, but it's been a great year for me.
Taran, I forgot to tell. There's a big show coming back next week. I'm gonna tell you the premise of a show, and I'd like you to guess what season it's coming back for.
Oh boy.
This is Detective Charlie Hudson is partnered with Rex, a canine German Shepherd, and together they investigate crimes. And this is on Up TV, and it's called Hudson and Rex. Would you like to guess how many episodes there are? Or
how many episodes? How many seasons?
How many seasons? Yeah.
I feel like it has to be high. The fact that I'm guessing, right? Is it like 20?
What if I was like, no, it's not that high.
Okay. I messed it up. I went too high.
That's okay. It's just 7, but still. It's season 7.
seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, apparently, maybe it's already aired, and this is a. Is there 2 versions of Hudson and Rex? This would be crazy, right? Is this? It is based on the Italian drama. That's of the Austrian Italian drama. It's the same thing. 7 seasons of Hudson and Rex. Anyway,
Oh.
just my favorite show, Hudson and Rex.
All right. Well, if you want to watch Hudson and Rex, then you can do that.
We'll see you all next week. We're dedicating a whole episode.
Yeah, this said season 7 aired in January.
Yeah, it looks like maybe
in January.
Maybe someone else is airing. Although the thing that I'm seeing is that maybe, honestly, this thing that I'm seeing says it's season 3 premiere, and it looks like a different guy. So now I'm like,
it
oh my
does
God.
look. I was gonna say it does look like a different guy.
I think maybe there's 2 versions of Hudson and Rex. I think,
but the dog looks the same.
Yeah, but Taran, I don't know how to break this to you, but lots of the dogs look, and I'm sure it's actually not the same dog. You know what popped up on my homepage of when I went to go, I watch sometimes I PVR Top Chef when I went to go, and the first thing that was promoted to me was Sneaks, which, as we all know, is Cars for Shoes. I did not watch yet. I did not watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what a shame.
What a shame. All right, that's it. That's all I got. I got Hudson, Rex, and Sneaks in. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that is what we have for you for the Tastemakers this week. I feel like it was a ton of stuff of us just saying like, this was great, watch it. So if you don't have time to watch all of it, I'm sorry, but hopefully we at least narrowed it down for you in terms of maybe what you would like the most. But yeah, excited to talk about some of the shows coming up next week, and everything else that we get up to here on Tastemakers. Anything else to plug, Grace?
No. We're doing Andor and The Last of Us. Check it out. Check out my work on Parade and Pop Heist.
Yes. And you can check out I've been posting some videos on YouTube of me watching The Genius. I tried to make one again watching The Devil's Plan, but we'll see if I'm able to post it at some point. So thank you all so much for joining us here today, and we will see all of you next time.